Okay, good evening and welcome to our episode 11, episode 10 actually, of meditation sessions. As always, before we start, let's settle down in our hearts. So close your eyes and take a deep breath. And as you exhale, relax your body. Take another deep breath. And as you exhale, relax your body. Take one more deep breath. And this time, completely relax your body. Now, let's think about one thing that was positive for us in the last 1 week, which you are thankful for. Once you identified that, think about why that was positive for you and why you are thankful for that. And now, just release it. If you are by yourself, say it out loud. If you are with someone, tell them what is one thing you are thankful for and why. Okay, so we started talking about karma 2, 3 sessions ago. So we'll continue with that. And last 2 sessions we talked about negative karmas. We'll have one more session today about negative karmas, and then we'll switch to positive karmas. So today we're going to talk about severity of negative actions. So not every non-virtuous or negative action results in similar suffering, right? The degree of suffering depends upon the power of our action. This power depends upon 6 factors. One, nature of this action. Two, the intention. Three, the method. Four, the object. Five, how often it is committed, frequency. And six, the application of the opponent. And I'll talk to you about that in a little while. So we'll look at each one to understand what it means, right? So nature of action. What does that mean? So some negative actions are more severe than others. We briefly touched on this. Killing is a lot more severe than just talking, idle chatter. So if you recall those 10 negative actions from last time, killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, lying, divisive speech, hurtful speech, idle chatter, and so forth, the degree of severity is in descending order. So killing is worst, idle chatter is, has very minimal effect. The next I before I talk about next factor, I just thought of something. I was watching a Netflix documentary about this guy Nirav Modi. Apparently, he stole like 1,100 crores or $2 billion, give or take. Um, and I was just wondering that what kind of suffering that will cause on someone, and I just don't know. I was just thinking out loud. So interesting to think about.
Maybe
So
one
next
life
factor is,
not enough.
pardon me.
One lifetime's not enough.
That's right. That's right. uh, Next suffering is intention, right? Uh, for example, if you kill in a violent rage, that is more harmful than killing in mild anger. That's what they say. But then I don't know who would kill in mild anger. And the next item is method. How do we commit that negative action? For example, if, and I know I'm taking this killing thing example, but that's the easiest example which meets all those six parts. So it's easy for me to explain. Uh, if you kill an animal swiftly, like a butcher does, right? There's less suffering attached to that than killing it sadistically, applying slow and painful death to that animal. And then the object is also an important factor, right? Who is this negative action towards? If you commit a negative action towards someone who has done good things for you, that has a lot more suffering attached to it than someone you are committing against who is a total stranger, right? So they say that, if someone kills their mom in a violent rage, that's like worst kind of thing you can ever do. The frequency is the next thing, is that, if you repeatedly commit the same offense, it has higher consequences as compared to one time offense, for example. And then the last factor is the application of opponent, meaning that when one commits negative action, but then along with it also performs a lots of positive actions. So it kind of has a washing out effect. So severity goes down significantly. So what are these effects? What are these sufferings of these negative actions? Right? We understand the 10 negative actions, severity and whatnot can happen, frequency, but what do we suffer? So there are three kind of effect of suffering. What's known as a ripened effect, the effect similar to cause, and the environmental effect. So it can manifest itself in any one of the three ways. So for example, if I kill something with a vengeance and that ripens at the time of death, then I may end up in a lower realms, like as an animal being or something like that. But once that ripen effects happens, that particular negative action has washed out. So no more suffering from that specific negative action. I mean, that's a beginning of suffering, of course, right? Um, but it will not show up again. The effect similar to cause has two types: tendencies and experiences. And this is, I think, happens most of the time to most of the negative actions we commit. It's just my assumption. Because I know for personal example, right? Tendency similar to cause is like compulsion. Uh, I'm prone to certain type of negative actions. Even then I know that, hey, it's wrong, but instinctively, right? Sometimes we end up committing those, right? Sometimes we end up getting angry, even though we know that that's not a good thing to do. So that's a tendency similar to cause, meaning that you committed this negative action in the past, which makes you, you know, compel, so, so that you will try to commit the same action. Now, if you end up resisting those, then that washes those tendencies as well. So it's good to know. Um, And it's a vicious cycle because you have a tendency, you commit it, then it creates more tendencies. So it's tough to get out of that cycle, but it's important to get out of that cycle. Experience similar to cause is different for each one. So cause of killing may be a short life. Cause of stealing may be lack of wealth in future time. Cause of sexual misconduct may be separation from friends and family. Cause of lying, maybe no one trusts us, right? Um, cause of divisive speech is, creating difficulty creating harmonious relationships and so forth. So the experience similar to cause also manifests itself in future of your current negative action. So depending on the severity of your negative action, it may show up as the ripened effect or tendency or experiences, or it can show up as an environmental effect, meaning that it doesn't affect us directly, but it affects our environment. So environmental effect of killing is you know, there's a lot of poverty around us, or uh, you know, environmental effect of stealing may be that we live in a barren area and nothing grows, right? So these negative actions can ripen in different ways depending on the severity and when it ripens and all that good stuff, whether you have done enough positive action to wash it off and whatnot. So worst thing that can happen is ripen in lower realms. And the best thing, not a best thing, but the least bad thing that can happen is that you have poor life experiences, right? uh, it makes your surroundings difficult, if you will. So that is something to think about as to of all the discussions we had on 10 different type of negative actions, what it can do and how it affects us, right? That's something we should contemplate as to how do we avoid these things. So that's the discussion on negative karma we talked about over the last 3 sessions. Next, we'll begin to look at positive karma and its effects. It's kind of interesting. Um, so with that, let's get into our meditation mode. What we'll do today is, as always, we'll settle down in our hearts, try to keep our mind clear. If a thought arises, we make sure that we don't pay attention to that. And then once we settle down, we calm down, we are without thought. We'll try to contemplate that how negative karma can affect our present life as well as our future, right? How it can show up in different ways, like we just discussed. And then we'll make a determination that we'll avoid negative karma as much as we can. And one thing they say is important is if you identify one item which you are prone to, right? So I'm prone to X, then say, you know what, I will not commit this negative action for 24 hours. Let's start there, right? So let's make that commitment for 24 hours. One negative action you are prone to, right? I mean, if you say I won't kill anybody for 24 hours, that's not really a commitment because you're not prone to that, hopefully. So that's the idea today. And then we'll hold that determination single pointedly for a minute or two. All right. So if you're ready, let's get into our meditation posture. Um, Close your eyes. Either you are seated in a cross-legged position, or if you are in a chair, just keep your legs straight. Make sure your spine is straight. Your mouth is open just a little bit so that you can release the tension in your jaw. Take a deep breath. Now just breathe normally and focus on the sensation of your breath. When you breathe in, feel the cold air coming through your nostrils. When you breathe out, feel the slightly warmer air. If a thought arises in your head, just gently acknowledge that. Don't try to chase it, and it will fade away. If you end up chasing your thought, just go back to sensation of your breath for about 5 breaths and it should go away. Feel the peace of your mind. This is your true nature. Again, if a thought arises, just gently acknowledge that. Don't try to chase it. If you do end up chasing your thoughts, please go back to sensation of your breath for about 5 breaths. Feel the peace at your heart. See that all the worries is melted away. And that stillness, that peacefulness is your true nature. Now, with that peace at your heart, contemplate the effects of our negative actions and what kind of sufferings that will bring in our future. Now that we know the consequences of our actions, let's identify one negative action which we are prone to. Now, let's make a determination that I will not commit X for however long you think you can commit, 24 hours, 1 week, whatever you think is reasonable for you. I will not commit certain negative action for this much amount of time. And let's make that determination single pointedly for about a minute or two. Okay, when you're ready, gently open your eyes. Okay, let's bring it up for about questions or answers. We have about 9 minutes. Any questions? It's a quiet day today. Nobody has questions. Go ahead, Premal.
So, negative karma, can you be part of it via transition? Like, for example, butcher raises animals for killing, and then you eat that meat. Do you inherit that negative karma?
Absolutely. Because you are causing the killing of that animal, right? You eating that makes, more people to kill it, right? Like, creates demand. So you are part of that by eating that meat.
Okay. And the person who's running that as profession, as business, he part of it as well?
Absolutely. The whole chain becomes part of it. So, they say that, for example, a king or a president, sends people to war, right? And somebody goes and bombs somewhere, 100 people got killed. The pilot who pushed the button for the bomb, the guy who gave the order, and the president who actually, sent, all of them get affected by that. So the entire chain gets affected by that.
So in that event, you're just doing what you're supposed to do as your work as a soldier. Um, what are your choices at that point, right? If you're working in an army or navy or air force, right? So
Right. Right.
say
So,
as Premal was saying, if it's part of your business and you do it,
right.
where
Doesn't
you're just
doesn't give
doing
you
your
a free
job.
ride. Doesn't give you a free ride. Uh, you if you're in an army, you have a choice not to be in army, right? So on and so forth. So it's a choice we make, um, but it does create that negative suffering. Now, suffering may be a different level depending on your involvement and whatnot. If you don't have that, you still have mental action, right? To create that, to kill someone, for example, but you don't have, the violent rage, for example. Then the degree of suffering goes down, but it still does affect you.
Neera,
Huh?
then the soldier is protecting his nation. He's doing good for millions of people who are staying in America. If an American soldier is on the war,
Right.
he's protecting millions of Americans who are in this country. Then
Well,
he's doing good for that millions of people. So how do you balance this?
so that's an interesting thing. Is he doing good for American people? Is he doing good for American economy? Right? They're two different things, right?
I
If
don't know. The
someone's out
mentality,
there, for example,
how he, the
let me give you
soldier
an example. Let's say there is a bomber, right? And there's a suicide bomber right in front of you, and you kill that bomber with a gun. Absolutely no problem, right? It doesn't
yeah.
give you that negative consequences, right? But the suicide bomber is in Afghanistan, and you go out there and kill that person, right? Or you want to go out to get for oil or whatever that case may be, right? That's a different, discussion. It becomes more political at that point, right? But if someone is harming someone and you stop that by killing that person, absolutely no effect, right? If there's an imminent threat to other lives, then you have a right to take that action, absolutely, because you may be taking one life, but you're saving 100 or 500.
So it is like Krishna teaching to the, who was that? Arjun.
Arjun, yeah. No, absolutely, you're right. So that's the whole point, right? That if it is imminent threat to other live living beings, then it makes sense. Otherwise it doesn't.
Nirav, this is Bhaskar.
Hi, Bhaskar.
So this is the first time I'm joining this. Interesting. I had a quick question for you. You did mention one thing that if you hurt someone you love, that is worse than you hurt someone you don't know.
Correct.
I don't understand that difference. Both the lives are equal. Why would you say one is more bad than the other?
It's not about whether you love, whether they have done good things for you. That's where the difference comes. So
Right.
if let's say someone has helped you, right, and then you go and kill that person, versus someone has, you don't know them from Jack and you kill that person. There's a difference, because this person has helped you in your life. Even then you end up, like mass murderers don't touch their parents, right?
Right, right. But it's a perspective, right? From my point of view, yes, that person helped me. I hurt that person even though he was nice to me. But from the perspective of the other person who has not helped me, how is that different from a person who has helped me? It's the same, right? It's my perspective versus their perspective. So a killing or hurting is the same for both of them. The pain is the same. Just because this person is closer to me doesn't mean he has more pain if I hurt him compared to a person who I do not know. The pain is still the same.
Pain
How?
for that person is the same, but in your case, they have helped you, so you had less reasons. I mean, again, nobody's justifying killing. Don't get me
Right,
wrong
right. No,
here.
no.
But the
That's the point you're talking.
idea is the severity is less. You still get affected by it, but severity is less.
So basically, it's not how they feel. It's more what is going to happen to you, your karma.
It's
That's what you're
your
trying to
exactly. It has nothing to do with the other person. This is totally your actions, right?
say. Okay.
This is totally about how we, you know, uh, 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 how people treat you is their karma. How you react to them is your karma.
Okay. I was seeing from a different way. Now I think I know it's not what that person thinks or not the person who you hurt thinks. It's basically you're going to feel a lot more worse if you hurt a person who cared for you versus a person you barely know.
You're going to suffer, absolutely. Yeah. Now, if you're a stone cold person, you may not feel anything, but you will
Right.
suffer in the future accordingly.
Right. Yep.
Karma is your own action.
Karma is mental action. So if my hand just waves by itself and it slaps because I have some physical medical condition, no karma attached to that, right? But if I want to on purpose slap someone, there is karma attached to that. So karma is any action which starts with a mental intention.
Got it.
Okay.
So-
Okay.
We have about 30 seconds left, guys.
No, that's fine.
Okay, so we'll pick
Next.
it up next time. Like we said, we'll probably do